Hi guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to do this Stranger Things text effect, and for this you're going to need GIMP. In case you're new to GIMP, I'm going to put a link in the description. You can get it from gimp.org. It's completely free open source program. Also, you're going to need a certain font that I'm going to link again to the description where you can download it, and this way we can get this text effect going. And I'm going to use the text Stranger Things, but you can use your own text. Just follow pretty much the same procedure and you're still going to get the effect just with your own text. So let's get started. First thing, I'm going to create a new image here. By default I get the 1080p image size, but I'm actually going to increase this with *3, enter, and again here *3, enter. And I'm going to use this big size image because it's going to, some of the steps here are not going to look good if we do it with a small image. So you can always downscale later, but I want to start with a big image, so you can just use these numbers if you want to. Then click OK, ignore this, just click OK. Now let's fill this with black by going to the edit menu, fill with foreground color, which is black. Now the next step will be to create the text. Just hit the T key or here the text tool, click on the canvas, and then I'm going to tap on the caps lock to write with capital letters and then write Stranger Things. And I'm actually, let's start over. Stranger, shift enter to get a new line, Things. Now we don't see the text because it's black on a black background. I'm going to press Ctrl A to select the text. And from this option here, I'm going to select a red color. Now you can see the code of the red color if you want to use exactly the same one. Click OK. Then I'll use this option here to center the text. Then I'm going to tap here, click here and press again Ctrl A to select the entire text here and write BE and to get the font that I want, and I'm going to use this version of it. So once you install it, and you type here BEN, you'll be able to find it. Click on that and let's then change the size to 700 here. Now let's with the move tool position it in the middle here so we can see the entire text. Now the next thing I want to do is adjust some of the letters here. Grab the text tool again with the T key, and here I'm going to change, just select the letter like this, and I'll change here to 900 pixels to grow this letter, make it bigger. I'm going to do the same with the R here, again 900. Now over here I have another, some other settings here. Here is the spacing between the lines, and here we have the spacing between the letters themselves. I also want to adjust this, but before this let's actually adjust the letters here. Select the S letter and then go ahead and type in here -150. So this will move this letter down and kind of align it with the top of the text here. Not exactly, but I want it to be almost at the same level, maybe a little bit upwards. Do the same with the R key, with the R letter here. This time I'm going to type -140 because I've already experimented with this. If you're using your own text and your first and last letters are something different, just experiment with these numbers and to align them here at the top of the text. Now next, let's go ahead and deselect just by clicking somewhere and type in here -480. This is to bring this word here next to the upper word, and here -20. This will decrease the spacing between the letters, kind of compress them a little bit. Now let me check with my notes what was the next step. We already did this. Okay, so next step we are going to go to the layer here and press the right mouse button and select the alpha to selection. And then I'm going to create a new layer here So click on this option to create a new layer, just use the defaults. Now we can turn this off, we're not going to need it anymore, and make sure we are on the top layer, which is filled with transparency, and we have our selection. Now I'm going to go to the rectangular select tool and make sure I'm on this option here, subtract from current selection. So this is the third option, click on that. And here I'm going to click and drag like this, because I'm going to show you in a moment something. So just do something like this. Once I'm happy with the selection, click here to apply it. Let's go ahead and do the other G letter here. Something like this, doesn't have to be exactly the same. Click. Now if you look at the original text here, you'll see that the artist who created it has changed the font a little bit. I'm pretty sure it's exactly the same font, but it has been edited. The G letters here have been edited. Some of the other letters have been edited, but I'm not going to go in too much detail and make this tutorial an hour or two. We're going to do this as simple as possible and get it as close as possible without making it too complicated for people to follow. So, but this is something easy to do the G letters here. So we did that. Now let me check with my notes. Okay, so next step will be to stroke this selection. Go to the edit menu here, stroke selection. But before that, let's go back here and make sure we select again the red color to assign it to the foreground color. Click OK. And then go to edit, stroke selection, which is right here, and change this to 12 pixels. And just use the defaults, click stroke. Now let's go ahead and deselect, select none. Now I also want to, if we see the original here, which I closed, let me reopen here. You see that the letters here, the G is closer here and the S is closer. I'm not going to do this part here and, for example, connect some of the letters, stuff like this. We're going to skip, but we can move some of the letters to the side here. So let's go ahead and select again the rectangular select tool. And I'm missing something. Let's see what's going on. Yes, I have to change the mode here to the first one so I can make a new selection, and just click like this, click to apply the selection, and then change the mode to the add to selection, and we are going to add this part. Click to apply this, and then add this part, click to apply this. So the idea is to select just this part of the text, then press Ctrl X, this will cut the text, and then Ctrl V, this will paste the text. Then right click on this layer here and select the to new layer option. Then go ahead and grab the move tool, and we are going to click here and make sure we are on the active layer. This way it will be easier to pick up this layer. So choose this option, click and hold down the control key. This will allow you to move in a straight line to the left and just bring these letters closer here. Once we do this, we can just right click on this layer and do the merge down option. This will merge it back to the previous layer. Now I want to do the same thing with the S letter here. Bring it a little bit closer. So just select it like this. Let's zoom in, make sure it's selected correctly. Then apply the selection, Ctrl X, Ctrl V, to new layer. Again, pretty much the same process. Then the M key for the move tool, and grab this, hold down the control key to bring it closer. And then we can just merge this down. Okay, so once we have this, I'm going to zoom out a little bit and do something else. Go this option here, layer to crop to content. So this is going to crop the layer to the letters. The reason I'm doing this is because I want to center the text on the background. So to do this, let's go to image, guides, new guide by percentage, just use the default first horizontal. This will place a guide exactly in the middle of the image on the horizontal. Then go and do the same, but this time use the vertical option. Then we make sure we want to move to on the correct layer and just grab this, and you'll see there's an X in the middle of the text here, the text layer. Just place it in the middle where the guides cross. So this way we're making sure that this is exactly in the middle of our background. Then go to image, guides, remove all guides, and also image, actually layer to image size to grow the layer boundary back to the image size. Now let's see what was next. Just checking with my notes here. Okay. All right, so now we're going to create these rectangles. So let's do this. Again, we're going to need some guides. Drag a guide and place it at the edge of the text here. Doesn't have to be that precise. Just at the edge here. Then grab the rectangular select tool again. Make sure we are on this option to create a new selection. And just drag like this. I'm going to zoom in to make sure I'm at the edges of the guide here, which is the correct way. And here for the height, I want to change it to 70 to make it thinner. And then I'm going to grab it and position it around here. Then I'm going to change the mode here to adding to the selection again and do the same thing. Just drag another one, make sure I'm at the guide, and then change the height here to 70, and then position this around here. I'm looking here at the T letter. Just try to position it at this point at the edge here. And then I'm going to change the mode again to subtract from selection and start a little bit outside of the T letter here, and make sure we can adjust it later actually. So if this is too much, we can grab one of the sides here and adjust it like this. And once we are ready, we click and this will subtract this part of the selection and only leave these. So next we can go ahead and do the edit menu again, stroke selection, and use the same settings, 12 pixels with the red color. Stroke, then select, none. Then, and here there's some kind of an issue. Let's undo this. I think I moved one of the selections without wanting. You can see it's coming outside of the guide here. So let's just click on this option and try to see if I can. No, I cannot move it anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract the entire thing here and start over again with this option. Okay, so we remove that. So we are back at created just this rectangle, and start again, create another one. Make sure the height is 70. There you go. Move it to the position to align right here. This is good. Then go ahead and subtract, and again going a little bit outside of the S here, a little bit outside of the T. This looks good. Click in the middle to subtract, and now we have the selection. Now we go to the edit menu, stroke selection, using the same setting, stroke it, then go to select, none. I misclicked, select. Let me see what happened here from the edit menu. Yes, I inverted the selection, so let's undo this. Select, none, and then go to image, guides, remove all guides. Okay, so far so good. Let's check with the notes here. Now let's go ahead and make the text glow. So we're going to do this by duplicating this layer from this option here. Then going back to the layer that it's below, going to filters, blur, and select this option, Gaussian blur, and using 20 pixels here, enter to change the settings, then click OK. Now the next thing I'm going to do is use a little trick to make this look better. And instead of using, we can do this in a few different ways, but I found that this can be very easy and as effective is to just use an image with clouds. And I'm going to use this one, just drop it here. I'm going to link in the description to this image. If you want to use exactly the same, of course you don't have to, you can try different cloud images. Make sure the layer is above all layers, so click on this option to move it, and then change the mode to overlay. Let me just find it here. Or was it multiply? Let me just, yes, it was the multiply actually option. So we're changing the mode to multiply, and you see we got this nice effect of kind of uneven lighting. You can also tap on the layer, get the move tool, and just move around and see where you want to place the highlights and the shadows. So this is a cool little way to do this. If you can see here, we have a lot of this. We have some highlights, we have places where the text is dimmed. So this is a quick way to do it instead of brushing. You can also adjust the level of the dimming by playing with the opacity here. By changing it, you can kind of play around with how strong the effect is. So I like this for now. Now the next step will be to do another highlight, which we'll create by going to the layer here with the text. So this is the one that I'm going to shift click on the eye here, so you can see the layer. So this is only the layer with the text, not the blurred, not anything else. So I'll go back here and turn off this layer with the text, and make sure I'm on this layer here. And on this one, we are going to right click and select alpha to selection. And this will select the text. Then we'll go to select shrink, and we're going to shrink it with 2 pixels. So this will make the selection smaller. Let's zoom in so you can see here. You can see how the selection became smaller. Go to select feather with 1 pixel this time. Click on that. And then we are going to fill this with color, but before that, let's create a new layer here. So click on this option, create a new layer, click OK. I'm actually going to move this layer all the way above, and we are going to fill it with the background color, which is white. So just fill it with white, this is the goal. Then let's go ahead and select none. And now I also want to move this to the side, so make sure you're on this layer, move the active layer and just grab it. Hold down the control key again to make sure you are moving. Let me just zoom in really close here. I'll undo with the control Z and just grab it and move it to the side like this. You don't actually have to hold the control key here, just move it to the side to create the highlight a little bit to the side. Now the next thing I'll do is I'm actually going to decrease the opacity of this layer to around the middle here. 50% is good. And we also had to blur it. Let me check with my notes. Okay, so we're going to actually blur it a little bit with, again, the Gaussian blur, but this time with the default option, just 150, no more. Just blur it a little bit. And now we're going to go to the eraser tool. And here again with low opacity, around 40 opacity, I'm using a very fuzzy brush. You can see it right here. Very fuzzy brush. And also the size is around 280, you can see. And all we have to do now is to start brushing. And this is not an exact science. You have to just experiment here. I like to not think about it too much, just do it. I want you to just click, mess around, then release, then click again, mess around, and so on. So don't just click or click all the time. Just like this, I'm clicking, I'm starting to just mess around, clicking again, and just going crazy. And little by little, we are going to get there. Do not worry about how it looks. Just do it. Little by little, we are going to decrease the effect and make it look better and better. Just keep on clicking, releasing, and if at some point you think you've done something that you don't like, you can always stop and press the Ctrl Z key to undo. And just at some parts, focus on some parts, and where you have some highlights, try to leave some of them as we progress with the effect. Just try to remove it more from one place and leave it on the other. Okay. So like I said, this is not an exact science. You just have to experiment with it a little bit. Let me see how this looks like. Okay, so I think this looks interesting. We have some highlights here and there, and some of the places we have completely removed the effect. It's exactly how I wanted to do it. So you just have to experiment, delete most of it, but leave some highlights like this, where the text is kind of illuminated. Okay, so I think this looks good. So the final step I want to do is to actually brush like this at the blur layer here. So this is the layer. I'm going to shift click on it so you can see it. It's where we blurred the text. So this creates the this kind of a let me zoom in. If you can see here, this fuzziness, this glow. So if you look at the original here, you'll see that we have some of this glow at some parts. For example, here you can see it's pretty visible, and then here we don't have it. So we can brush some of this off as well. So just make sure we're on this layer again, eraser tool, same size of the brush, same opacity, and just start removing some of this. So we can again create this kind of unevenness. We don't want it to be the same everywhere. So you can go a bit more some places, a bit less other places. Just play with it. You can kind of go wherever we have deleted the highlights the most, brush it off there the most also. If that makes sense. So just remove some of this to increase the effect of this unevenness. All right, so that's it pretty much. I think we are ready. Again, these last two steps with the brushing are very subjective. You just have to experiment with it until you like it. I think we got pretty close to the original. If you can see here, this is the original text. And let me move this to the side so you can see it. This is the original, and this is what we created. It's pretty close. It's not exactly the same, but again, this is, I simplified it as much as I can to create it as close as possible, so anybody can follow this. Even if you are not very familiar with photo editing, you should be able to follow this tutorial. And that's it, guys. I hope this was a fun little effect that you can use your own text and play around with it. And if the video was useful, give it a like. Let me know in the comments if you like it. Subscribe if you're new. Visit the channel for much more. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.